3 decades of fragile peace shatter in an instant. The crew of the Rocinante finds that time has changed everything and nothing, as an ancient technology unleashes a relentless new empire. The war for humanity has just begun. This is James S. A. Corey's Persepolis Rising. Persepolis Rising is the 7th installment in the Expanse Series written by Ty Frank and Daniel Abraham under their joint pen name James S. A. Corey. The authors maintained a trend of publishing a novel with a significant page count annually for 7 consecutive years leading up to this release. This particular novel, published in the year 2017, features 608 pages. The narrative incorporates a significant time jump of approximately 28 years following the conclusion of Babylon's Ashes and the defeat of Marco Inaros. During this period, the situation in the Sol system and the various new colonies has largely stabilized. A notable consequence of this multi-decade jump is a shift in the perceived scientific plausibility of the series. The increased utilization of alien technology causes the so-called hardness of this science fiction, often colloquially called the Mohs scale of science fiction hardness, to top toward the realm of science fantasy. Like most of the previous books, the narrative universe remains vast, operating on one of the highest levels of scale seen in science fiction series. However, in terms of core concepts and ideas, Persepolis Rising mostly builds upon established elements, although it does introduce new facets centered on the antagonist faction. At this point in the series, continuing the approach seen in Babylon's Ashes, the events are experienced through the eyes of a variety of protagonists. The narrative extends beyond the original Rocinante crew to include characters who were elevated to point-of-view status in the previous novel. Persepolis Rising received several accolades, including nominations for the Locus Award for Best Science Fiction Novel, the Goodreads Choice Award for Science Fiction, and the Dragon Award for Best Science Fiction Novel, all in the year 2018, though it did not win any of these awards. Critics widely praised the characterization. For instance, it was stated in a review in elitist book reviews that, and I quote, "Characterization in this book was on point. In fact, it's likely the best they have done in the series. There were so many moments that had me holding my breath, or whispering, 'No,' and seriously tearing up." End of quote. Andrew Liptak of The Verge offered slight criticism, saying that, and I quote, "Persepolis Rising does fall short in some places, specifically regarding the role of the antagonist." End of quote. Conversely, Niall Alexander of Tor.com praised the novel's dark themes, and I quote, "Though the 7th part of The Expanse opens on an unusually hopeful note, with humanity writ large finally united and our ever-hopeful heroes planning happy retirements, Persepolis Rising is ultimately among the darkest chapters of this insatiable saga. It takes a little longer than I would like to get going, but when it does, Persepolis Rising proves as pulse-pounding and poignant as any of its powerful predecessors. And given how near the end is from here, I do not expect there to be another dull moment before the whole story's over." End of quote. With regard to popular reception, Persepolis Rising boasts a combined rating of 4.4 out of 5 stars, based on thousands of reviews aggregated on various websites such as Goodreads, Library Thing, and Amazon. The previous novels formed the backbone of the Expanse television series. However, Persepolis Rising is the first narrative that has yet to be included and is unlikely to be adapted in the foreseeable future. Showrunners have not completely ruled out a continuation of the TV series. Owing to the multi-decade time jump, there is no immediate time pressure concerning actors aging out, as is common with other series. Time will ultimately tell what happens next with this TV series. The following section discusses spoilers for all novels published prior to and including Persepolis Rising. You have been warned. In the Thousand Sun network of humanity's expansion, new colony worlds are struggling to find their way. Every new planet lives on a knife edge between collapse and wonder, and the crew of the aging gunship Rocinante have their hands more than full keeping the fragile peace. In the vast space between Earth and Jupiter, the inner planets and the belt have formed a tentative and uncertain alliance, still haunted by a history of wars and prejudices. Meanwhile, on the lost colony world of Laconia, a hidden enemy has a new vision for all of humanity, and the power to enforce it. New technologies clash with old, as the history of human conflict returns to its ancient pattern of war and subjugation. But human nature is not the only enemy, and the forces being unleashed have their own price. As alluded to earlier, the solar system and beyond seem to have reached a certain peace and balance, approximately 28 years after the devastating events of Babylon's ashes. For the reader, however, this new status quo is not strongly established, which represents a shortcoming of this particular novel. Similarly, there is a stark disparity between the sheer number of available colony worlds, which should number in the hundreds, if not reaching 1,000, and the few that are actually named or relevant to the plot. While the various factions within the Sol system were fleshed out in detail in previous novels, the new colony worlds are merely a number. Not even half a dozen are named or play any crucial role, even including some short stories to reach that total. This is a missed opportunity for world building in my view. The central conflict of Persepolis Rising is a logical progression and does not appear to come out of nowhere. Nevertheless, it heavily mimics the structure of the conflict between the united forces of Earth, Mars, and the remnants of the OPA versus Marco Inaro's Free Navy. However, the nearly indestructible starships of the Laconian Navy, built through the successful use of alien shipyards within the Laconia system, are a more believable threat than Marco Inaro's Free Navy, which, despite being supported by the rogue Martian faction who would eventually colonize Laconia, at times still seem to have materialized unexpectedly out of nowhere in Babylon's Ashes and Nemesis games. Winston Duarte, the ruler of Laconia, is the typical antagonist foil, possessing his own military and navy armed with advanced technology. His vision is to unite humanity under his rule. In contrast to Marco Inaros, Duarte is not portrayed as having the same charisma. Duarte learned of Laconia and the vast amount of protomolecule technology left behind by the so-called creators through his position at the Martian Congressional Republic Navy. He felt this technology needed to be acquired and understood in the event that the race that destroyed the protomolecule builders returned. Duarte perceives himself as a philosopher king who will lead humanity to victory over whatever destroyed the protomolecule builders. While there is some logic to Duarte's goals, he remains in essence a dictator who believes he must subjugate everyone for the greater good. It is somewhat puzzling why subjugation is necessary in the first place, when he already possesses his own solar system and the most advanced fleet and military. It is also slightly puzzling why no one else considered using the alien technology in a similar manner. Certainly the devastations wrought by the war with the Free Navy were a significant burden, particularly in the inner solar system, and the Laconians were very relaxed regarding safety precautions and ethical concerns when studying the alien technology based on the protomolecule. Yet, some further technological development outside of Laconia, thanks to the alien technology, in other systems and factions would have increased the overall believability of the plot. While these points may appear overly critical, Persepolis Rising is, for the most part, a fun, gripping and thrilling read. The large cast of characters is already well established and well developed, making the continuation of their various stories a blast. Although the Laconians are less nuanced than antagonists in earlier novels, the protagonists more than compensate for this shortcoming. A significant plus is the absence of a perceived wonder solution or deus ex machina solving the immediate problem, which Babylon's Ashes did lean into toward the very end. The stakes are high. Although the Laconians are not as unhinged as Marco Inaros, their goal remains the total subjugation of all humanity, and the heroes will have to work hard to mitigate this reality. Overall, Persepolis Rising successfully follows in the footsteps of Babylon's Ashes, Nemesis games, and all the other excellent novels within the Expanse series up to this point. There are some shortcomings, particularly related to the antagonist's motivations, and some missed opportunities here and there when it comes to fleshing out the world building of the newly colonized systems. However, the strong cast of characters and the thrilling, gripping action, particularly in the middle and final chapters, more than make up for these flaws. If you enjoyed reading the Expanse books up to this point, Persepolis Rising, while perhaps not the peak of the series, will certainly not be a disappointment. If you liked this video, you may also enjoy the other reviews and content on my channel. Feel free to leave a comment if you want to discuss the novels or if you want to suggest other books that I should review in the future. Please consider upvoting and subscribing, it is much appreciated. Thank you for watching and until next time.